Hello my fellow gamers and welcome once again to Perafilozof City Skylines videos. Today I'm going to continue building up the city in which I plan to reach 1 million population on the hard mode. In the previous episodes I have changed up my road networks, I have changed my public transportation, I had increased and then decreased the population after redoing some of the zones and how they were balanced. I have found out in the previous episode that I had a problem with my workers, and then once I had actually destroyed some of the residential zones, I have ended up with far more jobs available than I had people employed. Now, my employment for some reason sticks to this 3%, even though my jobs available are 5,000 higher than the people that I'm employing. So I'm actually under the number of teams that I need to work in my cities. Now that isn't too much of a problem because there are a lot of these households that can hold far more people. They just need to actually move in. Even the households that are very old, and you can see there is still 20 out of 24, 18, 16 out of 18 and so on. I mean, these did level up, so they did increase in the amount of households they can hold, but for example some of the oldest ones, these here, not even these are filled to their maximum capacity for some reason. You can see 18 out of 21, 18 out of 21, 13 out of 15, so not even these are totally filled up. I'm not entirely sure what's up with this. What is holding back these households to be filled to their maximum capacity of sims that they can hold? As for the services in this area, I had increased them with a hospital. So I was thinking that if I have placed a hospital here, I might as well turn off the medical clinics. There's no need to have those with a hospital at the same time. So I'm going to turn off these two and the third one here as well. But then again, if I look at the reach of the hospital, it is not that big. So by turning off this medical clinic, I would lose the coverage here. So it would actually be a better idea to leave that one on. Down here, for a long time, I've stuck with the fire stations. Firehouses, sorry, but they do not seem to have good enough coverage for these areas. I have 3 on the left side and 4 on the right side, which is actually costing me more than it would cost me to have a single fire station on each side. So just like with the upper 2 sides of the city, I will bulldoze these and build just 1 fire station in these areas. Although sometimes a single fire station cannot reach everything, so I'll try and see if I can leave this firehouse here and just have the station here. Seems to be a huge... oh, it's a cemetery, right? Not a park. This one should be empty though, it's going on to be full. So the fire station... let's find a spot, let's say here. Alright. And in tandem with this firehouse, that should be good coverage. While over here I need to place this one. Let's see where it can go. I guess it could go here. It seems it will have good coverage if placed here. Alright, and let's let the game run so we can see what these are going to do to the buildings. Yep. Much better coverage than before. There are still a few areas that do not have excellent coverage, but I think I can live with that. Now, my buildings are going abandoned because I haven't supplied enough workers on time. I still have way more jobs available than I have workers. It's still a 5,000 difference, which is a lot. Now, I did lose like 6,000 people in the city when I had switched some of these areas up here between residential, commercial, offices, and even added some roads instead of some residential areas. For example, here I rode through this area, so I did lose a lot of households and a lot of workers. So now that is the reason why I have this problem. I'm still exporting a lot of goods, but less and less than before. So I'm hoping that soon I will stop exporting them and just use them locally. Another thing that I need to take care of is power. Now, I do have a lot of power at the moment, but that is with these things turned on. What I want to do is turn them off and switch them for a solar power plant. Now, I need to actually find a spot for it, and in the previous episodes I had emptied the cemetery, and now that it is emptied I can bulldoze it, and this should be a good enough space to plop the solar power plant. Excellent. Now let's see what is going to be my power situation with this thing on. I'm going to be producing 950, 960 megawatts and spending 835. Now the incineration plants do produce sometimes more, sometimes less, so I do need to have more constant power supply from these things than to rely on the incinerators to provide that power constantly. As you can see, some of them are at 12 megawatts, some are at 4, so it's best not to rely too much on them for a constant power supply. Down here I had expanded for more residential zones and they are being filled up with households, but I still do not have enough workers for all those jobs. 35 out of 39,000. Yeah, and all the new industry that I had zoned constantly goes abandoned before it can start being operational, as there aren't enough jobs. So it seems that I overdid it by destroying so many residential zones. But again, I am pretty annoyed that, like I said, these zones aren't getting filled up with the maximum number of sims in the households. I'm not entirely sure what is the reason behind this. I mean, I do have good education, I do have good park coverage on this area of the city. Now, the old part of the city does not have that good of a park coverage, and I was hoping on fixing that at some point. Let's see, place a park here. Should take care of this area, and perhaps one more in here, and that one should take care of that area. There, much better coverage than before. And still loads of abandoned industrial buildings. Like I said, the interesting thing is that the buildings that go abandoned are the buildings that require only uneducated workers, that is the specialized industry, and none of the offices, the commercial buildings, or the generic industry that is leveled up and requires educated workers goes abandoned because of the lack of workers. It is pretty interesting to see. Let's see, how am I now? 35 out of 39 still. And the interesting thing is that I still have unemployment. The only thing I could guess would be that I have so many educated that they do not even wish to work in this industry that requires uneducated, so they end up rather being unemployed than employed in the industry which does not require their educational level. I mean, the only thing I could do to counteract that is to switch from the industry that requires uneducated workers to industry that requires educated ones. That would be leveled up generic industry or offices. So unless I can get more workers up and running soon, I'm going to lose a lot of industrial buildings. Yeah, here we go, going abandoned faster and faster, as I still have yet to get all these new workers. I mean, I am climbing at the rate of about 500 workers per every few minutes, but still a lot of these buildings are going abandoned due to not enough workers. I guess I should have been more careful when I was deleting zones, residential zones, because I did delete really a lot of them before I had actually had time to zone more. So I should have been more careful when I was redoing this city and did it a small piece at a time rather than destroying huge swathes of residential zones to cover them with more office space or commercial buildings. Well, I am now filling up this part of the city, and it's time probably to start thinking, where do I go from here? Uh, where do I develop? I can still buy more land. I can buy probably this and this, and as my subscribers have said previously, it may definitely require to build to buy more than 9 tiles, so I would have to use the mod for 25 tiles to get up to a million population. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about that, as I haven't yet even reached 100,000, so I will just wait to see what happens in the future, and from then on I will decide what mods do I need to increase the amount of tiles to have more room for more sims to live in. And as you can see, you do require a lot of commercial and industrial areas for them to have enough jobs, so you can't really expect to have like a huge zone of residential and a lot of unemployed, because you cannot even get demand for residential unless you have jobs available for them to come into your city and get jobs. So you cannot just zone as much residential as you want without first having jobs for them. And you can see the problem that I'm having right now with a lot of jobs still being required. I constantly have a demand for residential, but I do not have a lot of zones. I have increased the number of zones here that are high residential instead of the low residential areas, but I will obviously need to do this even further and have even more high density zones instead of the low density ones. Now I am kicking out some of the sims and even reducing the population further, but I do have a demand for residential areas, so they should pop up back very quickly, as you can see here. Now, did more of my industry level up lately? Nope, still about the same amount. I think more industry has leveled up here to level 3. But up here, for example, I'm still annoyed with the industry that is keeping to level 1. Did I have more abandoned here? Yes. And down here, some more went abandoned. Very annoying, but I guess it's another lesson to learn not to destroy too much residential areas at the same time like I did before. While I'm trying to stabilize the conditions with the workers in the city, I should look to the future, like I said, where and how do I expand. Now, just a second before I go and do that, I didn't create a new district here for this residential zone. Needs to have a policy for recycling, pet ban, and this area here, which is offices and commercial, has to have policies of its own. Where's the name? Here it is. Taxation, taxes rates for offices, and big business benefactor for commercial buildings. How's my water? I haven't checked that in a while. I am reaching now into the yellow zones with the water and sewage, so soon I will have to upgrade the capacity. So where exactly do I expand? Now I've been thinking whether to expand over here and just have a connection like this, or do I expand over here in this area, because I will be able to start taking water from this source, although I'm not sure just how much water could I get from here before I sucked it dry. And it's a lake, so you cannot pour sewage here. Although when I was thinking about it, I thought maybe I could do exactly that, pour sewage, but not take the water away. But then the problem is, if I were just to have sewage outflow pipes here, at some point it would probably start creating too much water here, because the outflow pipes add water, so this could end up going through its shore and increasing the level and ending up flooding my city. So I could use some water from it, some fresh water for my city, so that I don't have to build any more pumps here. But like I said, that would reduce the water level, so it would be a smaller problem than just placing the sewage outflow pipes here and then increasing the water level and flooding my city. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is to expand over here, but there is far too little land here. The best possibility with a lot of area to cover with zones would be here. The railway network would provide a challenge to build around, but I guess that wouldn't be too hard, and I already did pull the roads here, so from that area it wouldn't be too difficult, and I could even buy this plot of land here. Actually I can't right now, so maybe with the mod I could, but don't need a mod yet. I could expand the city here, so it would go another highway here on the edges and up to here. Here I would have another interchange. So let's see, more buildings going abandoned. This is getting annoying, and I'm very displeased that these buildings are probably still going to have not enough families moving in. Yeah, they might look a little bit more filled than before. What happened here? Oh my god, look at this. These are all 2x2s. Yeah, not enough teams seem to be filling these households. There are still households with plenty of room for teams to be moving in, but they sometimes seem to refuse to do that. Not sure what exactly is the reason. Did I simply zone so much continuously that instead of filling up the old buildings, they filled up the new, leaving the old buildings not filled up? It is quite often interesting question what the reason behind that is. So how's my number of employed? 36,800, jobs available 39,000. So I still need almost 3,000 new workers. I'm not sure how far should I go with adding workers here. I mean, if the buildings are going abandoned, then it's probably a good bet that this area could use more workers. So I can keep zoning high density residential instead of the previous low density in these areas. And I should probably add one more area here with high density residential. I can add the offices here. And once I have more workers, I can finish this area up with more offices, because there is a lot of noise pollution here coming off the highway, so it's probably better to have just the offices and not the residential areas. Oh my god, so much of this video is spent just bulldozing areas that do not have workers. I mean, I could have simplified things and just dezoned some of these areas so that they would stop asking for workers. It would have been a little bit simpler. So now I have 37,000 people employed and still jobs available at 39, but I seem to have lost my demand for residential zoning. The new zones that I have zoned here are not popping up, nor do the teams seem to be moving in. So I'm starting to think that it might be an educational problem, whereas I have only 10% uneducated residents, and they are not enough to cover all the jobs that require just uneducated workers. So what I may have to do is switch for more generic industry. Now the problem is I already have too much generic industry because I'm exporting a lot of goods. Now I am using the policy for industrial space planning, which is said to increase the amount of goods produced by industry. So what I will first try to see if I can disable this, and is the amount of goods that is exported going to go down. So now it's 7,344, and the industries that are exporting it are in these areas and also in here, I believe. Yep, and this industry is also exporting it, but I've already turned off in some previous episodes the policy for these zones to be producing more of the industry's goods. So I could go here as well and disable this. So this should hopefully reduce it, and I think it's already being reduced. It's now 7,243, while it used to be far higher. So I'm trying to strike a balance between how much I'm exporting and how much I'm producing. Still more buildings going abandoned due to not enough workers. Alright, and how's the export now? 7,000. Now it's 7,300. Alright, because of the added forestry and the added agriculture industry. But the goods exported, I think, should start dropping. I mean, they do go up as soon as an industry levels up, because then the industry is producing more. But that should drop down once these policies stop affecting the industry and tell them to produce less than before. I'm importing more agricultural products as well because of the added agriculture industry here and here, while my exports should drop down once those policies stop affecting them. Although some of the exports do come from the agricultural buildings and the forestry, so that does increase it at the same time while I'm reducing it at the generic industry. I'm going to dezone these. They were exporting anyway, and I'm trying to have fewer exports and more buildings that would just produce these raw resources that do not get exported but get used inside the city. Alright, tear this down as well. So how am I now with workers and jobs? People employed 38,300, jobs available 39,300, so just 1,000 more workers are necessary to bring the balance back. Now these areas have yet to get new zones of high density, this area here as well, and over here no new buildings have arisen lately. I'm still waiting for the population to go up and more workers to move in before I can get this balanced out. 39,400, 38,400 should balance itself out soon. Now look at the level of buildings. This is all industry level 3. These are offices at level 2. Homes are mostly at level 3 and 4 in these areas, while over here I have some of them actually 2 and 3 in these areas, while up here, because I had placed that hospital, they had leveled up to level 4 in some of these areas. The industry, the generic industry that's at level 3 is over here, and then again level 2 on the outside, because I think that the cargo train terminal are affecting the industry even at long range, but only in the streets that are very close to the parallel with the cargo train terminal, while the ones that are far away will not level. Even the ones that are close to it, over here you can see they're still level 1 even though this is so close to them. So still need more workers, understandable. Do I have more buildings going abandoned? Not yet. I had dezoned quite a bit of industry to prevent any more of them going abandoned. I may even dezone a few more just to prevent them from being exporters, because those are not the kind of buildings that I want here. Alright, so how's the export? The import went down 1,800, the export went down 7,100. I'm not entirely sure that the policy actually makes the industry buildings produce more, nor does it seem to make the commercial buy more. I mean, the part of the pie that's taken up by the goods did go down, as I had turned off those policies for the industry to produce more goods, the generic industry, and the areas in which I had them. So it may be that it just takes a while for it to... Yeah, there's a lot more of them disappearing right now. So it may be that the policies do actually work, they just take a while to wear off once you turn them off, or to start being useful once you turn them on. Yeah, definitely the industry has dropped down its exports, and I'm not importing any. The imports for the agriculture industry have gone up, but that's understandable. But the exports for goods have definitely gone down, so the balance has been restored. As for the jobs, 38,700 compared to the available jobs, 39,350 now. So this balance also has come back. Now I do have some extra room for industry that I have dezoned, but I am not going to be able to zone it back until these households get filled to their maximum capacity and there ends up being more workers here to work in that industry. If anybody knows why these households are not filled to maximum capacity, you're free to comment in this video and tell me. I would love to know. Maybe it's something to do with the taxes, or perhaps their happiness, or service coverage, or I don't really know what it could possibly be. Land value, perhaps even? I mean, I did raise the taxes a little bit for residential areas, up to 12%. But I don't think that that should influence too much how many teams move into a household, just influence my demand for new teams. So let's see, would the demand go up if I were to reduce taxes back to 11? Oops, not these, these. And since I do have a lot of demand for commercial, how about I increase the taxes to them and see if the demand goes down. Still says medium, and there's still no demand for residential areas. Of course, just like with the policies, the taxes may need a while to adjust and the game to calculate the new demand. Well, nothing yet. The jobs are almost balanced out with the people employed, and the exports and imports are almost perfectly balanced once again. Excellent. This is what I was hoping to achieve. One more thing to check is the traffic. I do seem to have a lot of them trying to turn into here and enter the city. Not sure, should I give them maybe an exit of the highway here? I think these are mostly the importers for the generic industry, or perhaps not. Probably some of them take the goods to the commercial areas, so they go back and forth through here, and they're probably the ones that are empty, or yeah, he's returning to the facility because he did his round. And you can see that this building does not export, which means that its goods are delivered locally, and those are the trucks that are coming in off the highway, the delivery trucks that go back and forth between the industry buildings, the generic industry producing goods, and the commercial buildings that spend those goods. As long as there's no despawning here, it's okay. But yeah, situations like this where the traffic stops to a crawl are not the best. So maybe I could add an off-ramp here for them to have quicker access to the generic industry, like this. Yeah, that will definitely help. As long as there isn't any problems with lane changing because of this off-ramp, this should be alright. Okay, so still demand for commercial and still no demand for residential areas. And the jobs are almost balanced, so changing the taxes by those few percentages did nothing. I might as well put them back like they used to be. I might as well leave the commercial taxes at 12%. I think they're not very happy with me, 76%. But there is a high demand, so might as well leave the tax at 12%. I mean, it's not like I really need the extra money, but considering that I had spent about 2 million in the restructuring of the roads and the public transportation, I might as well have a lot in the bank as I develop. Well, I think this was enough for this video. I know I might have not expanded enough, but I think that reaching a nice balance in a city is more important than developing more without a balance being first achieved. So thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more.